Well, there's some very interesting poll results out from NBC News on Gen Zers, Zoomers, separated by men and women, and if they voted for Trump or Harris, asking them their personal definitions of success. And the results here are a little worrisome, at least in one case. I should ask up front, Gen Z men who voted for Trump, are you okay? Need a hug? Because there is a big problem here, as you're going to see. So let me get to the post from Steve Kornacki of NBC News, who shared this out, saying our NBC News Decision Desk poll asked Gen Z adults 18 to 29 what they consider important to a successful life. So let's go through it. First, comparing men who voted for Trump to women who voted for Harris. Clearly, the two most different, I would argue. So, personal definition of success. Right off the bat. So let me go through it first, and then I'll point out what I notice here. Having children. Number one, financial independence, fulfilling job career, being married, having money to do things you want, owning a home, being grounded spiritually, making family/community proud, having no debt, using talents and resources to help others, and able to retire early, and having emotional stability. One thing is very clear immediately. Having children is the most important thing for men who voted for Trump. And that's, by the way, across the board. It's more important for men who voted for Trump than women who voted for Trump. So that is the number one for men who voted for Trump. And compare that to where emotional stability sits. Last. You should probably swap those if you're going to have a child. As somebody who has a child, I would rank emotional stability first, as I think that is the most important thing that you should. I could see it maybe not being viewed as a definition of success, but it should be. That should be the most important thing in your life, is that you are emotionally stable, especially if one of your big desires in life is to have children. So financial independence and others that deal with, money, like owning a home, I'll get to some of my thoughts on that and the connection here to the vote for Trump and just how backwards that is. But let's go through the women who voted for Harris. So fulfilling job career is first. Having money to do things you want is second. Having emotional stability, using talents and resources to help others, financial independence, having no debt, owning a home, making family community proud, being grounded spiritually, able to retire early, being married, and having children. So having children last among Gen Z women who voted for Harris. Very interesting separation here. Fulfilling job career. This across the board, as you're going to see with the next group, is important for everyone. And, that's not really a mystery. And the others, I would argue this list isn't all that surprising. Being married, of course, is also low on the list for Gen Z women, as typically when you're young, you really should not be thinking all that much about marriage and children. I would hope that your focus first is on yourself, emotional stability, and financial independence, being able to live your life independently before you think about, having a family. So all of this seems totally normal. Let's get to the next group here. Women who voted for Trump. So this column I find just the most interesting to me because I don't really understand women who voted for Trump, especially younger women. But looking at the list here for personal definition of success, financial independence, which again, a lot of ranking here of the importance of being financially stable, when the vote for Trump has done just the complete opposite. But fulfilling job career, which similar to both men and women who voted for Harris. Owning a home is very important. Being grounded spiritually is going to rank up there, both for Gen Z, or I should say Trump men and Trump women, as religion tends to be a deeper part of their identity than it is for Harris voters. Having money to do things you want, important. Having children is just middle of the pack here. Having no debt, using talents and resources to help others. Being married also does not rank high, to my surprise. Having emotional stability, low on this list as well. Able to retire early is by far last, which for me, I have to say, the more I work, the more this one goes up the list. Able to retire early might, for me, be second place right behind emotional stability. But men who voted for Harris, their list here, fulfilling job and career. So similar levels of importance here, though clearly a little more for men. Having money to do things you want, of course, very important. Using talents and resources to help others, that ranks pretty high, which is a good thing to see. Financial independence, having emotional stability, making family community proud, owning a home, middle of the pack here. Owning a home, to my surprise, wasn't really, I guess it's third here for women who voted for Trump. But where is it for men who voted for Trump? Only middle of the road. So owning a home isn't as high on the list as I thought it would have been. But I think part of that is because a lot of young people understand how impossible it sounds to even be able to afford a home, for at least for their age bracket where their lives currently are. So that I could see that not being a priority at the moment because of just how unattainable it seems, and it is. Having no debt, being married, low on the list for here for men as well for Harris. Having children, very low on the list. Able to retire early and tied for last, being grounded spiritually. So of course, spirituality, as expected, not huge for either the women who voted for Harris or for men. But let's get to the importance of financial stability. So fulfilling job, career, financial stability, owning a home. These were very important issues for, across the board, but also particularly for Trump voters. And it's worth bringing some things up here. What mass deportation means for housing costs. So at every level, what Trump has done so far, I want to be clear, things weren't great before, but they have become even worse under Trump for a variety of reasons. Tariffs being one of them. We'll get to the impact potentially on affordability when it comes to that. But housing. So this is a study from University of Utah. Quote, we're able to show that when you increase immigration enforcement, you do in fact generate a reduction in the number of individuals who are supplying labor to the construction industry in a given county. That's from the co-author Troop Howard. We show that those reductions in workforce are associated with a large decline in home building. That in turn will lead to higher home prices, even for existing housing stock, potentially exacerbating the housing affordability crisis. While deportations likely would free some residential space, that doesn't come close to offsetting the effect of reduced construction. So we are really only beginning to see the impact of this, as we have seen the deportations and the attacks on completely innocent people, and to deport them just ramp up over the past few months. Worth noting as well, the rolling back of renter rights has led to a worse situation for people who don't own a home and are simply renting. So Bloomberg headline here, as Trump reshapes housing policy, renters face rollback of rights. That includes significant cuts to housing assistance and renter protections. Landlords and property owners are pushing for deregulation, leading to more issues, as well as fewer resources to prevent evictions and more landlords willing to bend the rules. So with Trump on the side of landlords and property owners, business owners, this is only going to mean bad things for the vast majority of people. Now, also, of course, when it comes to affordability, Adidas, Walmart, Home Depot, and other major brands that say Trump's tariffs are pushing them to raise prices. So this is another impact of tariffs. It's also, this reminds me a bit of greedflation, where I'm not saying tariffs aren't impacting this, because they are, but they're taking advantage of the situation to raise prices or do it prematurely before they're actually facing the incurred costs of tariffs. So this has just led to a much worse situation. And the Hill here, an analysis of the Yale Budget Lab projects Trump's tariffs could increase prices by 1.8% in the short term and cost the average American household $2,400 per year. The nonpartisan research group calculates that consumers face an average effective tariff rate of 18.6%, the highest since 1933. So this right here is absolutely going to impact people. Those that voted for Trump thinking they're going to have more financial independence or the ability to save to own a home are going to be a little stunned to find out that that is not going to improve. Again, not that the situation was great before, but clearly things have gotten worse. And Gen Z voters who voted for Trump expecting a different result are going to be disappointed.